Oklahoma State is not easing into Big 12 play. Utah this week, K-State next week. Cowboy coach Mike Gundy even joked on Monday that when he saw the schedule, he realized he'd sent pecans at Christmas to the wrong person at the Big 12 offices. Instead of Commissioner Brett Yormark, Gundy realized he should have been nice to the schedule maker. So, what kind of challenge do the Utes present the Cowboys this week? We'll talk about all that and much more with Tulsa World columnist Berry Tramel, now on the Jenni Carlson Show. But before we get to that, I want to say a big, colossal thank you to Visit Stillwater for sponsoring my Oklahoma State football coverage this year. If you're headed to Stillwater, maybe for this Utah game, you're going to want to head over to visitstillwater.org. There you'll find all sorts of information about game day, including parking, places to eat, and all sorts of information that fans will want to know. And hey, if you visit Stillwater, hop into the Visit Stillwater offices. It's right there on Highway 51 as you're coming into Stillwater from the west. Say hey to Christy and her staff. They're happy to help you out. Then I want to encourage you to subscribe. First, to my YouTube channel. Just hit that subscribe button. It's free and easy, but it really does help me a bunch. Then, subscribe to my website, Beyond the Box Score. It's free, but if you want to support my work, you can do so for as little as $8 a month. Go to jennicarlson.substack.com and subscribe today. BT Utah coming to Stillwater on Saturday. Now, hey, Big Noon Kickoff does not plan to come to Stillwater on Saturday. I know you're not exactly happy with that, are you?
No, the dang Fox, just a bunch of shills for the Big Ten. That's all that is. Ohio State, Marshall. Now, if the Thundering Herd makes it a game or upsets the Buckeyes, I take it all back. But, I mean, this has all the makings of a 55-14 game. Doesn't have any ramifications on much of anything. And we have not only just a massive game for this season, for the Big 12 race, for the college football playoff, but also sort of historic. Utah's first game, first conference game in the Big 12, first trip to Stillwater. So, you know, to me, it was an easy call for Fox, and they chose not to make it. And it did. I mean, it's just their business model. I mean, it's their business plan, and if that's the case, then fine. Just don't pretend that you're really you get interested in covering all of college football, because you're not. So, give one to ESPN. The game day's in Norman, Oklahoma, Tennessee.
Yeah.
And you counter with Ohio State and Marshall.
When you've got a top 15 matchup in your back pocket. That's what Oklahoma State and Utah is. So an unbelievable matchup, which, you know, we expected when the season started, even before the season started, that this would be an important game for these two teams for this Big 12 conference. Obviously, Oklahoma State looking at this early conference schedule. Mike Gundy even joking his Christmas present went to the wrong person at the Big 12 office. Should have sent the schedule maker one instead of Brett Yormark, because start with Utah, go to K-State. But Barry, does the fact that Oklahoma State, which has started slow in the last few years, but the fact that they've got that South Dakota State game, that Arkansas game in the rearview mirror, does that ease any worries about how they will get going in Big 12 play with two massive games to start?
Well, I don't know if it eases the worries. It may increase the worries, but it does prove that the Cowboys are tested. We know a lot more. Frankly, we probably know way more about OSU than we do Utah. The Utes have played Utah State, Baylor, and who'd they lead with? Southern Utah or somebody. I can't remember.
That's right. Yeah.
But I think Cowboys are more tested than Utah is now. Being tested does not mean you ace the test. It means you could have failed the test. OSU almost did a time or two during this schedule, but Utah's ability to hit OSU right in the mouth is less than it would be if the Cowboys hadn't played those three teams, particularly Arkansas. So I think I think this schedule, it's not a juggernaut. There's not a juggernaut on that OSU schedule, but it turns out it was a pretty good schedule to get OSU ready for this 1-2 punch of Utah and K-State.
You talk about tests that maybe haven't been passed, and we talked just last week about the OSU run game going to Tulsa, and if they couldn't run effectively against the Golden Hurricane, maybe there's reason for concern. So, talking about tests being passed and failed, Is it time to worry about the OSU run game?
Well, I think I'm in that stage of being worried. You should be able to run on Tulsa even if they don't want you to. And the Cowboys basically didn't. Now, Alan Bowman had a monster game, throwing the ball to all kinds of open wide receivers. If that continues, then who cares how many rushing yards Ollie Gordon has? But since he doesn't, when you play Utah, I don't think those receivers are going to be running as open as they were. The tight end open across the middle, Shetron, going deep easy and Stribling all over the field and Owens. So I think it is cause for concern. I think the OSU defense is going to have to play better, probably than it's played all season, than what we've seen. So I don't know what the problem is. I don't know if it's blocking. I don't know if it's schemes. I don't know if it's something about Ollie's cutting or vision or whatever it might be. But whatever it is, I don't know that OSU can go into this game thinking, this running game is something that's going to carry us to victory.
Well, then that, as you said, defense and the passing game becomes the things that they have to lean into. So what do you like most about what Alan Bowman and the passing game, the threat that they present, how effective this Utah defense is? I believe overall defense ranked in the top 30 in the country. So maybe not against great teams, but still has some pretty decent stats that they've put up. Where can this pass offense, where can it be effective against the Utah defense?
Well, I think Cowboys have a pretty good deep game. I think they've shown that. Brennan Presley has been able to turn short passes into first downs. And the things that we've seen out of this offense off and on for, 15, 20 years. So I do think that the OSU receiving core is really good. And I do think Alan Bowman is playing better. I think he's staying in the pocket more. I think he's not Mike Gundy talked about this yesterday, not getting flushed and not running around. And as much as we've been on the OSU offensive line, they've pass protected pretty well. I think maybe still no sacks of Alan Bowman, I think.
Yeah, no sacks.
So really, if the Cowboys have to throw 40 times a game, I don't think that means automatic disaster. Now, they'd rather throw 30 and have a bunch of rushing yards, but I think they can move the ball through the air. And Utah, like we said, is rather untested, especially against a high prolific passing game. Certainly didn't get that out of Baylor. So I like OSU to move the ball some through the air. I think Cowboys will be able to do that.
I wasn't sure that Alan Bowman could have the kind of improvement that he's had this year, Berry. Here he is, a seventh-year guy, which we'll talk about Cam Rising in a second. Alan Bowman, not the most senior quarterback on the field on Saturday, but I didn't know if a seventh-year guy, if we would see big improvement. But I think we've seen some fairly significant strides by Alan Bowman, which, again, maybe I shouldn't assume that you can't improve, but I think he has been, markedly better this season.
Well, it looks like it. And here's the thing. He's been around forever, but he's got the strangest career. 3 years at Tech when he mostly played when he wasn't hurt. Now, he was hurt quite a bit, but he still played a bunch of football at Tech. I'd have to look it up. But, he's coming up on 20 starts at Tech in 3 years. And then he goes to Michigan and doesn't play. He literally doesn't play. Takes a few snaps in garbage time. For 2 years, he doesn't play. And then he comes Stillwater, and he's the guy. So, it's a very strange career. I'm not sure there's been anything like it in terms of guy plays, goes somewhere else, doesn't play, goes somewhere else, does play. So his progression, his learning curve, his improvement, it's sort of new territory. So maybe this is what happens when you make these moves and don't get to play. Mm-hmm. So I do think that's very good, though. At age 24, he's able to sort of turn over a new leaf and get better in this, which really amounts to a third act of his college career.
As I mentioned, he is not the most senior quarterback in this game on Saturday. That would be Cam Rising, another seventh-year quarterback. And again, injury marred and an injury marred season, unfortunately, for Cam Rising. He has missed the last few games with a finger injury on his throwing hand that required stitches. Now, Barry, it sounds like he's going to be available for the Utes on Saturday. What challenge will he present? And, the fact that he has been out and is coming back from this injury, does that affect what we might see out of him?
Well, I think what you get in Cameron Rising is you get a solid quarterback. He's become a folk hero, right? In Utah, back-to-back Rose Bowls for Utah, and played spectacularly in back-to-back Pac-12 title games, 21-22. He's not a superstar. He's not one of these, Lincoln Riley tried to recruit him to Oklahoma, almost got him. He's not one of those OU quarterbacks that was just a superstar. He's sort of I'm trying to think of a guy. He's a little bit of a Mason Rudolph type in that he's big, very popular, strong. The old cowboy type. The strong, silent type. Really cool looking dude, had the long hair. I don't know what he's doing with his hair these days, but he's not the guy that's going to come in and just wow you. But man, can you depend on him? Man, can you lean on him? Man, can you think this guy's been through it and he's going to take us through? So I think he inspires a lot of confidence in the Utes. Now, he hasn't played. He's played what in the last since that Rose Bowl, January 1st, 2023. So we're talking 20 months. He's played a quarter and a half, quarter and an eighth. So he hasn't done a lot of football in the last couple of years. But I do think he would sort of emotionally and mentally lift the Utes as they trot on to Boone Pickens Stadium Saturday.
So obviously two teams that everybody expects to be in the mix for the Big 12 title game, that Big 12 championship. And then obviously that means playoff possibilities. Last week you did the mock selection for the college football playoff. Do you have any insight after that experience as it relates to this 12-team playoff and how games like what we're going to see on Saturday in Stillwater are going to impact things?
Well, I think the one thing that really matters, I think, for these Big 12 heavyweights, K-State, Utah, OSU. OSU plays at K-State next week. Even if you win those games, even if OSU beats Utah, even if OSU beats K-State, they need Utah and K-State to win. The last thing the Big 12 needs is great parity. It's what they have, but it's not what they need. They need a couple of 11-1 teams. They need the third place team to be 10-2. They need some really high profile, highly successful teams. If the whole dang league is 9-3, the league, it's fantastic. Everybody says it's a great league, and they'll get one team in the playoff bracket, I think, is what it amounts to. So we'll have to see how the schedule plays out. We still don't have no idea who's the best teams in the Big 12. Could be Central Florida. Could be Iowa State, could be OSU, Utah, K-State, which we sort of thought it would be. So we'll just have to see how that's all going to go. But what the Cowboys and the Utes need is, even if you win Saturday in Boone Pickens, you want the guy you just beat to go ahead and have a really good year.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Yeah, we're starting to sort of see some separation. Kansas falling away, a team that we thought might be in the mix. They don't look like they're going to be there, but these next couple of weeks are going to start to tell us we've sort of found out who's not going to be in the mix, but now we're going to find out who's going to be in the mix. So this is going to be a fun time. Before we get to predictions, Barry, do you have an X factor in this game, something that you think will make a difference in victory or loss on Saturday?
Well, I think the OSU secondary has not played great. Now, they got with it in the second half against Arkansas much better. And Cam Smith, did I get that right, or was it Cale Smith?
I think it was Cam Smith.
Cam Smith had the long inner pick six,
Every week we have the discussion about the Smiths and the Cams. And
sorry, Smiths. I apologize. But So he makes the big pick six that sort of revived OSU's fortunes. And they got burned some at Tulsa, but Tulsa throws a lot and only scored 10 points, so I don't know how you can get too worked up. But I do think the ability is there for Utah to really take advantage of that OSU secondary if they don't buck up and play really well. So that's the one I want to keep an eye on. Of course, the OSU offensive line run blocking. We talk about that all the time. But off the radar, I think that that little bit of OSU secondary against a solid Utah offense, I think is pretty important.
All right, time for predictions. Who you got winning this one, Berry?
Well, I picked the Utes. I just don't know that OSU is playing great. They're playing good. They're playing fine. They're getting the job done, but this is a step up. I think it's going to be a classic. I got Utah winning 21-20. These are both winning cultures. These are teams that when the games get tough and they get tight over the course of 2, 5, 8, 20 years, Kyle Whittingham and Mike Gundy have produced cultures that come out on top more than not. But this might be not recency bias, but regional bias. You know, we know so much about these teams. I know more about OSU's flaws than I do Utah's flaws. I'm sure in Salt Lake City they're sitting around talking about Utah's flaws and what they need to fix. But I got the Utes winning 21-20.
Yeah, I'm going to go the opposite. Very close game. I think OSU wins, and I think that if this game was in Salt Lake City, I think I would pick the opposite. But I like Oklahoma State's chances to win on home turf. I've got 31-27 as my score, so a few more points. But yeah, I'm with you. I think this is going to be a great one to start Big 12 play. Again, I wish it was the 11 o'clock kick that everybody was watching nationally with Fox, but that's about my only regret about this game. Barry, you got anything coming up on Oklahoma State you want people to know about in the Tulsa World?
Yeah, this week I've got a story on Big 12 parity. Who is the best team in the Big 12? Are we headed for a wild race that really hurts everybody's playoff hopes? And I'll be writing about that. And also Kyle Whittingham, the Rocky Mountain twin of Mike Gundy. The relationship, historical relationship, not personal, but the career paths, Kyle Whittingham and Mike Gundy, how similar they are.
They are definitely similar. All right, BT, thanks for the time.
You bet.
That's all the time we have for now, but please subscribe to my YouTube channel and to my website, Beyond the Box Score. It's easy and it's free, but if you want to support my work, you can do so at my website, jennicarlson.substack.com. Also, you can find this episode and all episodes of The Jenni Carlson Show on your favorite podcast app. If you like what you hear, please leave us a review. A quick word of gratitude to my video dream team, Jacqueline Musgrove and Michael Lane. Thanks for joining me, and we'll see you next time.